Welcome, everyone. This is the Cascadia Regional Call. It's taking place fortnightly during the Design School for a Generating Earth learning journey on how to organize your bioregion. So this is the Cascadia cohort and also members from the public who are coming in to offer some wisdom, some bioregional updates, and yeah, some collective skill sharing. So just a little bit about our agenda. We'll do a grounding exercise. Davida Wolf will be leading that exercise for us. And then we'll do a little bit of context setting with the recent webinar from the design school, opportunity for you to offer comments or ask questions about the most recent webinar that happened on last Tuesday. And then we'll do a presentation. Drew Alcoser is here to give a presentation on navigating climate grief and their working climate cafes. So really excited to hear about that. We'll do some breakout groups to discuss the content from the presentation and maybe do a little bit of practice, do some report backs from the breakout session, and then we'll have a little artistic closeout with a poem that I brought today. So yeah, that is our agenda for today. And with that, I will let Tabita take it away. Looks like Tabita, you're muted.
Thank you. Okay, so I'll have you either close your eyes or have a soft gaze with your eyes partially open. And I'm going to ask you to place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly, just below your belly button. And bring your awareness to your breath. On the inhale and the exhale, we're bringing our focus and our attention from an outward-oriented focus to an inward-oriented focus. Become aware of your breath as it moves your back. We're so forward-oriented. I want you to bring awareness to your back. So feel the place on your back behind your heart. And your belly, your lower back area, bringing breath and awareness there. And then to the sides of your body. So bring your breath into the sides of your body and feel the expansion and contraction of your breath there. So you're breathing with the fullness of breath in your whole body, front and back and sides. And the trunk of your body is now the trunk of a tree. So visualizing yourself as a tree trunk, feeling the bark of protection. And beneath your feet, feel the roots drop down into the earth, deep into the earth. And not only is it below you, but also feel your root system as it goes out to the sides. And like where we brought our breath to the front and the back and the sides, feel the root system all around beneath our feet. Expanding wide to give stability, the depth, stability, and support. And breathe in the vitality of the earth. So breathing in, you feel energy and vitality coming in through your roots, in through your feet, up your body to your heart. So with each inhale, you're bringing in fresh chi, fresh energy from the earth. And you're bringing that into your heart. The energy of the earth fueling your body, feeding your body, the trunk of a tree. And out through the top of your head, feel the branches sprouting out from the top of your head and into the universe. Again, feeling the front and the sides and the back, branches all around, mirroring the root system in the ground. And this time we're feeling the reach into the universe with the stars and the planets, way up into the universe. And then draw the fresh chi down from the universe, down through the branches, through the top of our head, and swirling with the earth energy in our hearts. So bringing fresh chi, fresh energy in from the universe, through our branches, through the top of our head, and into our hearts, where it joins the earth energy. And take a couple of breaths here, feeling the chi, the energy coming in from both places, the earth and the universe. And then bringing your awareness back to the hand, your hand that is on your heart, and the hand that is on your belly. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Rita, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for leading us through that and for bringing your presence to this space. Thank you, everyone, for remembering what it feels like to be a tree. Always, always refreshing, always important. Beautiful. All right. So I'm going to shift us into our webinar recap. For those of us in the learning journey, the last Tuesday webinar focused on the Regenerate Cascadia version of bioregional organizing and all of the beautiful contacts that they've created over the past few years to be bringing structures to seed and landscape groups on the ground who are organizing and creating portfolios of projects that are doing regenerative work and doing bioregional mapping. And so, yeah, we just want to open it up for any comments about that webinar, any questions about that webinar, or just in general, any thoughts about where you're at in the learning journey. Feel free to raise your Zoom hand. And yeah, we'll go over to Daniel.
Mine is just a really quick woohoo and yay representing Claire, Brandon, and Andra. It's so neat seeing just the high watermark that Regenerate Cascadia is in terms of the work that's being done.
Awesome. It's very sweet, Daniel. Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting. So much to balance in terms of, we want to present a very professional front so that we can be positioning for funding and grants and BioFi and all of these things, but then also really wanting to give a very human, land-centric view of all of this. And so, yeah, it's a lot to balance and also trying to create models that people can replicate across other bioregions and also on the ground. So I appreciate the recognition there. Thank you so much, Daniel. And over to you, Denise.
Really appreciate what Daniel said and also the thought and it's a complex, what is happening at the design school is there's infinite parts, and there's infinite people, and there's infinite needs and tools, and I really appreciate the conscious and magical both together intention and also logic. Like, how can we do this in the best possible way that is also designed to evolve and designed to be flexible. There's so many different aspects, and just so much appreciation for the heart and the work and the thought and the intention that has gone into it.
Thank you so much, Denise. And it's always a joy to hear your comments, because I've just been so excited to watch all of the work you've got going on with your Eco Thrive community. And so when you're inspired, I feel inspired, and hopefully vice versa, sounds like. So thank you for bringing those beautiful comments in. And I'll pass it over to Corey.
Yeah, thank you. I never tire of hearing the history, maybe because I lived through those times but never heard it. So, it's just such a good reminder. And that this goes way back. So I appreciate that. And then I also appreciate something I think a lot. Well, I appreciate how Regenerate Cascadia has figured out it's a theory for them, I think, that they're going to move on and test, but what's their unique niche and their unique contribution, and just is 100% focus on what people on the landscape need, and putting forward this year-long, at least, experiment to move with that. So I think it's hard to figure out, like, what's your unique niche? It's something I think a lot about, like, what's the unique thing I can offer? Yeah, anyway, that's what I really appreciated.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Corey. It's so interesting when you're really setting up the frameworks for people to go and do and have agency in the ways that they feel really called to regenerate their landscape. There's often this moment of, okay, but what do I do? But tell me what to do. And it's like, no, we're building agency together. We're all co-creating what this looks like together. And you have to really sit and listen to your landscape with the groups that you're coordinating with, and find out what that answer is for yourself. And we can help you once you have the answer. But yeah, so it's a really interesting practice to be building that collective agency again after so much, the systems that be, the modernity, tamping that down. So yeah, thank you for calling that in. It's a beautiful comment. And over to you, Claire.
Yeah, I just felt like I wanted to respond just to say it's really humbling to hear and see that that what we have been seeing in the field for so long, and then listening and trying to reflect back, and then trying to bring a vision that made sense to us from having had frustration in the field, bringing that forward and seeing the resonance. So just all I wanted to do was just say, yeah, it's scrappy. It really is. And there is, like, community is messy. But I do think that when it's grounded in principles where kindness, trust, reciprocity, the integrity of what we're trying to do, I think when it's grounded in that, we can actually, that there's a lot of, there's a, we can hold a whole lot more. And I feel the generosity of people who can forgive us for when we get it wrong, but that we're doing our best to. But anyway, I just wanted to say it's humbling to be in this community, and it's amazing. It's amazing to see as groups are putting their applications in, just to see the depth. I mean, we've known this, but you start to see even more of the depth of what people are already holding. And it actually, there are a lot of resources that have been missing just to help us. Like they're not that many, it's not that complicated in the sense that, but it is some minimum viable resource infrastructure to hold and to connect it. So I'm just so excited by what is coming together. So so much more to come.
Thank you so much for that, Claire. And for people who are listening to the recording, and for anyone really, if you want to learn more about the Seed and Landscape Group program that Regenerate Cascadia is putting on, you can go to regeneratecascadia.org and learn more about the bioregional organizing that that organization has been doing. Beautiful. All right. So with that, or Davida, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I guess it was absolutely beautiful, and it is the care of thought and intention, Claire, that you were talking about really comes across. One of the things that I would love to see is if there some more grounding in actual stories, if there are any. I think that that would really help a lot. As well, if you could bring that into it.
Can I just respond here?
Please.
Yeah, no, there's so many blog posts we'd like to write. We get some of them up some of the time, and there will be a lot more coming. We've actually starting to increase the capacity to do that. And Drew, who's on the call, there are others that are coming on to help us do that. So it's going to get out there. But yeah.
Yeah.
Agree with you. Stories where we get to see what's really going on.
And thank you, Davida, for that comment. And I do think that, this kind of call might actually be a good place for those stories, because the stories come in from on the ground. Those are the places where like the actual regeneration work is happening. So that's really good feedback, and I'll definitely consider that in our future regional calls as well. And I encourage for anyone who has stories about regenerative work that they're doing on the ground when we do the bioregional update session of this call to bring in those stories, because that's what's really going to be inspiring and provide examples for ways to do this work. So thank you for that comment. And yeah, with that, I do want to open up to our bioregional update portion. So if you are working with a Seed and Landscape Group and want to share about the work you're doing, or you separately have events coming up that you'd like the people in the bioregion to know about, or you personally are just doing some regenerative work on the land that you'd like to share about, please do raise your Zoom hand and just tell us what's going on for you. How's that coming in? All right, looks like Claire has their hands up. Over to you, Claire.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that I went over to Salt Spring on the weekend, and they were having the Cascadia D-Web camp, which is the first time it's been held in Canada, and the fact that it was on Salt Spring. And then Benjamin Life and Patricia Parkinson with Open Civics were over there, and there was a big pull to going over. Anyway, it was really amazing to be there and see. There were people, Christina Bowen, there were a whole bunch of people from Regenerate Cascadia that also came up for it. So what an incredible event, and where it really made a difference. The people were really cross-pollinating from the bioregional movement with it, because that stretched the conversation a lot more. I think it's so interesting. I often find this where there are people who are thinking much more sort of with the tool building or whatever, but they're a little bit, I would say, was coming across as a little bit disconnected from some of the work going on the ground. And when you start connecting it with the people who are doing the work on the ground, and just and especially when there's an openness to hearing each other. Anyway, I just felt like it was really generative. And so there's all kinds of moves afoot for the next time around, and that will be in Canada. So yeah, just wanted to share about that.
Beautiful. So excited to see those Canadian groups coming online. And yeah, over to you, David.
Well, good morning to everybody, and hi, Claire. David from Whitby and Regenerate Whitby are one of your newest landscape groups. We have on this call Tom Buxton and Perry Lovelace and Jeff McNeely and myself. And we've all been, I think, very gratified by what we have achieved thus far. This wonderful line that is repeated so often that we go at the speed of trust. And in addition, so we have formed ourselves. Our group also includes Stephanie Nesselrod, who's a founder of the Seventh Generation Lab. Becky Porter, who is on the Tribal Council of the Swinomish here and born and raised in Whidbey Island, along with Kiki Laporta, who's got an expertise in communication design. And we have Tom and Perry and Jeff on the call today that makes up our cohort. Our first meetings were held at Tom's house, and Tom and Tara, who built that house dedicated to community 20 years ago. And it was a special request by Tom to have our event there because it kind of marked a passage in history. And much appreciated to Tom's hospitality and his dedication. So we've got a group that's been involved in bioregional thought from our very beginning. And hearing Denise and Claire talk about the stories, I think my story is about we just have to remember. We need to remember where we come from. We need to remember where we belong to. And it's this peace that we find in that remembrance that we're a part of this greater everlasting flow that gives us such joy. We've held subsequent meetings, the regenerative group. We've had 2 meetings, one at the Beaver Tail, Tale, Cultural Cafe, Indigenous Land in Coupeville. And we met with the owners and proprietors and learned of the history of our people who stand in that place for thousands of years. And then just most recently, as of yesterday, Tom and Jeff, myself met with Fritz Hall and Nick Kramer of making a program called Knowing Home. And it's an offshoot from the Whidbey Institute. We had an extraordinary meeting there yesterday. And of course, in the sense of remembering and where we've come from and how we belong, it's something we all share. And once we share that together and recognize that sharing, then this infinite possibilities of all things becomes possible. And so it's that kind of feeling with Fritz. We then walked out on his land, the land there. There's 40 acres that are going to be kind of dedicated to the opening portals for people to come and explore their connections to the forest. And how it's going to be manifested, I think maybe Jeff, you can talk to that because you and Nick seem to hit it off with all this opportunity of how do we introduce people to that feeling. And of course, Fritz introduced us to his power circle. There's these, I think, 7 big, huge cedar trees that he kind of discovered as a ring, a fairy ring. And he cleared out below it so that we're going to be able to have sacred ceremonies within that fairy ring of cedar trees. And I just, it filled me with joy that we are setting ourselves at this place. This is our foundation, this indigenous wisdom and the wisdom of the trees that surround us. And it gives us a chance to listen. It gives us a chance to learn and to remember all the things that make us whole. So it's been a pleasure. And Tom and Perry and Jeff, please feel free to jump in and add your take on it. But thank you too, Andrea. Your spirit and joy in leading these groups is a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. Beautiful to hear about the work being done over there. I think I'll go ahead and pass it over to Daniel. Do you want to bring in your update?
Yeah, my update is just two little pieces. But I presented last time around that Metachrysalis game, and yesterday we had the chance to play Metachrysalis with a small team from City Hall in our local municipality. And it is strongly looking like what it's going to be able to lead to is some really neat collaboration between grassroots and municipal organizing around getting citizen participation around bioregional organizing. So really, really exciting and fun. And then on the micro side, I'm super psyched because as one of the little moves in the game, my eldest and I are going to be making it a regular habit going to the park that's next door, starting to photograph the plants and to start learning about and talking about how they all kind of function as a local, human synthesized pseudo ecology, but an ecology. Yeah, that's me.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I'm so glad to have Metachrysalis updates. I'm so excited about that. Oh my gosh. Okay. If you didn't watch the recording from last time or you didn't see that presentation, I highly, highly recommend. It's on our YouTube channel at Regenerate Cascadia. So yeah, do that because it was amazing. And over to you, Jan.
Thanks. I was a couple of weeks ago, Bob Stilgar, who lives in Spokane, was on this call, and I don't see him today, but I just he works with new stories and has been forever and ever working with community development things. And there's a program called Regenerative what is it called? Oh yeah, regenerative responders. So people that go in after a crisis, after a fire, after an earthquake, and work with the community. And so it was great to be attending because our community and our fire issue was one of the case studies, and hearing someone speak about being in that situation, trying to work across communities that were angry and governments that were pushing, and how to work with all that, and looking at kind of how to restore disaster and to bring forth a different way of engaging. And it reminded me of something that comes out of Vanessa Andriotti's hospicing modernity work, because she says that it may be that it's only when the floods reach our bum and we have to swim that we'll actually engage in a certain way. And it's so amazing to see different people building capacities for that time when we have to engage with people who maybe not have thought about what it means to deal with a disaster, but do love their community and love their place. So it just feels like a beautiful thing to put together bioregionalism with the work that's being done in that way. I just wanted to bring that in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That disaster resilience piece is so important and represents a really good way to bridge gaps in alignments with all the people on the ground. So really beautiful. Thank you so much. And moving over to Corey.
I have 3 quick pieces. One individual, when we moved to this little spot 3 years ago, there really weren't any birds that came. So I've been planting natives and tending the land, and now my measure is now we have birds, which I'm so happy about. The second one is about Regenerate Whatcom. There's a group up there. We've been planning a series of it's hard to say, walking Whatcom waters. We had an event a couple of weeks ago at the River Farm. Bruce is here on the call. And our next planned one is actually tomorrow. We're going to decide later today or this morning if it's going to go, if we feel like enough people are going to come. We have about 6 people, I think, on the organizing team, and I think we have 6 people from the public who are planning to come. So we're going to do, well, it partly depends on the river. I mean, on the rain, but we'll probably at least walk to the river, and then there's an oxbow there, so we're gonna experience that and talk about it. And then Bruce, being an incredible public artist, is gonna put us through a process called Clay Nest Web, which I won't try to explain. I have never done it, but anyway, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And if you want to come, reach out to us and RSVP. Other people on the call. So Bruce is here. Dave Ketter is here. Howard from Colshan Carbon Trust is here. So yeah, we're learning a lot along the way. So that's a lot of fun. And then here in the Skagit River watershed, there are conversations with some with Terry, who's going to speak next, and then other things happening just through conversations, like little sparks that maybe sometime they'll weave together. We'll see. So a lot going on.
Amazing, Corey. That was beautiful. I'm so excited. I kind of hope it rains so that you have like the water from the sky and the water from the ground. I don't know. It sounds beautiful. Well, I'll go over to you, Terry.
Here we go. Hey, I am here with SJ and E.
Hi.
And we're making little name tags for our plants on the farm on this rainy day, and we're totally stoked about the rain. And yeah, it's been a good busy year with the apprenticeship program and the woofers, and we're harvesting a bunch of stuff. But I wanted to share that we also started, we were kind of brainstorming what to do with the disintegrating of our federal government, or no, wait, I shouldn't say that, the transformations, but anyways, the program that pays farmers to bring food to food banks is one of the things that's being cut, and food stamps. So we've started to do a little gleaning organization we're in the Upper Skagit, so we've been going out and gathering food that's we're closely associated with an organic farm here. So like the carrots that are too small for them to harvest, we've gone in and gleaned them, or we've been picking berries, blueberries and blackberries that aren't getting harvested, and bringing our surpluses to the food bank in Concrete. And so it's been pretty fun and fulfilling, and we're surreptitiously starting a little free box in a little gazebo in Concrete. And I don't know, do you guys have anything to add about what you're doing to regenerate the world, or pressure's on?
Nothing else to add. Working with Terry is great.
All right, thanks y'all.
Thank you so much. I love all of that. Cleaning is an amazing practice. Thank you for doing that. And last update for this session, we're going to do Bruce.
Andrea, can I just put something in there before we move on, just to respond? Is I know that the only reason why it's really in flux is we don't know what the federal government, US federal government's funding thing, but I believe the program that we applied for through Regenerate Cascadia, what you're describing sounds like it would fit right into it. And I believe there's something afoot with it, actually, that funding may come through. So maybe we should be in touch. But there was I can't remember what the grant's name was, but we put in for that, and it sounds like it was, anyway, we'll get back to you on that. I just wanted to, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So maybe email Claire at regeneratecascadia.org to maybe see if there's some grant opportunities there. Cool. And then over to you, Bruce.
Oh, thank you. I'll see if my bandwidth feels like I could use some capacity. I was just taking notes on just this string of events that have been going on. It was really exciting to get together with Daniel and Denise on a call to talk about the Land Trust Guild. That was super exciting. It's a big kind of piece of how I think about the regenerative puzzle and how that ripples out into the larger community, and all the layers. And then we held an event here so River Farm is part of the Evergreen Land Trust, and I'm on the board and the outreach committee. And so we decided to do that we needed to kind of start with ourselves and just, what is there, 7 or 8 communities, and kind of having all members gathering at the farm here. And so we organized that and pulled that off. Was that last weekend? I think so. Anyways, it's a lot of work to do these things, but it was really beautiful. And some great stories came out. Talked about our purposes of trust and how that kind of organizes what we do on River Farm. And then Holly, who's been involved in the Stewart Mountain Community Forest and does a lot of the work in terms of over the years for organizing how we structure our own community forest on the farm. It's quite the unique, because it's unique because it hasn't been, since it was logged the first time many years ago, it hasn't been logged again. So we have a pretty good understory in biodiversity compared to how the Stewart Mountain has been basically forest farming. And so we kind of dipped into what that means, for a forest to go from a 80-year cycle to a 60-year cycle to a 30-year cycle of logging practices, and then the use of glyphosates to basically monocrop the forestry on that. And then it's, I don't think they're doing DNA modification, but it's certainly selective, selecting trees that grow straight and fast. And so just kind of thinking about, we had some discussions about how does that impact the landscape and the water. And there was some really interesting conversations that came up. Aviathar, who's our president, talked about how he felt that there's this generational trauma that happens, and that kind of triggered that response in him when he heard about how that's being handled, the forest is being treated. And then another person talked about the domination of the landscape with those practices, in contrast to our own forest, where it's more, we started out talking about the intelligence of that nature, the intelligence of that soil and the root systems and how everything's working together. And that those parallel to with, the gardening practices of looking at the soil as that there's an intelligence there. So there's some really good conversations that came out about that. And I felt really good about how we were all, it wasn't as big as we thought, but you got to start somewhere. And it was really beautiful. And Corey mentioned the Regenerate Whatcom walking waters. And I felt that was really beautiful here too, to have feet on the ground. And, we walked pretty much the whole property, just to give a context of what's here. And then we also started out at the Van Zant Hall, because there's some opportunities for some outdoor classrooms and youth programming there, and talked about the salmon stream and how that might eventually become another location to work with. And then with my art practice, I'm always looking for ways to leverage what I do. And I got kind of a surprise email from, it's a architecture firm in Seattle, AECOM. They invited me to be on a design team for a project in Bellingham it's a restoration work for the Squalicum Creek estuary on the waterfront. And so that could be a really powerful place to do some community engagement and use the Clay Nest Web, my public engagement tool, and place-based practice. And then I could share that with our team that is forming up here, to share those, how that goes. So just thinking of ways to how these things layer together. So I haven't had a lot of time to look at the seed and landscape applications yet, but I'm really curious to learn more. So I think, and then hopefully we do the thing tomorrow with the Whatcom Waters. I'm excited. I have some art planned. And I could go through that another time, but I don't want to take up more time. So thank you, everyone.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for bringing that update in. And I think that's a really good segue into Drew's presentation about climate cafes and navigating climate grief. And yeah, so I will let Drew take it from here.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. Well, thank you, Andrea, for inviting me in. So good to see all you lovely people and hear all the cool updates. I am going to try to share my screen. This one here, this one here. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to talk about how we hold our emotions, about the climate crisis, about the environment. This is probably going to be a lot for a lot of the new people that come into your groups, and how people deal with it. So people that might be angry when they're first coming in and discovering, they might have differing opinions. They might be coming in with some grief and loss, and maybe they're not able to identify it and put their finger on it. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. So really it's that colonial conditioned to push emotions aside that we're all kind of ingrained with.
Hey,
And
Drew.
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt, but can you make your presentation bigger? It's just a little small window on your screen now.
oh, okay.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was gonna happen. Okay, so yeah, I'll go on. So I've been facilitating what I'm calling climate circles, and the brand name is called Belonging Circles for Resilience for almost 2 years. And it's just come from my training with Climate Psychology Alliance and their Climate Cafe platform, as well as One Resilient Earth, who focuses on climate justice for their Climate Circles platform, as well as the All You Can Save circles based on Joanna Macy's work, rest in peace. So a disclaimer, I'm not a clinician. So to get this started, can I get a volunteer to come off mute and read the next slide and go ahead and jump in? This is a quote. Go ahead. Anyone jump in?
I can. Through slowing down, becoming more embodied, and feeling our feelings, we can create a moment between an event and our reaction to said event. By Laura Schmidt, How Do We Live in a Chaotic Climate?
Great, thank you. I am going to read this a little differently. So through slowing down, becoming more embodied, and feeling our feelings, we can create a moment between an event and our reaction to said events. So I have a question for the group to consider. I'm gonna ask you to type 2 or 3 words into the chat. So get ready. So when you stop and think about the rapid acceleration of the climate crisis and other worldwide chaos that has unfolded, name your emotions, just 1 or 2 or 3 into the chat. So when you stop and think about the rapid acceleration of the climate crisis and other worldwide chaos that has unfolded, name your emotions. It's 2 or 3. Okay, let's go ahead and breathe as we all scan through those emotions. So what does that feel like in your body? And it might be different than what you typed, and it's not just how it feels really. And I want you to let those body responses just kind of wash over you. Might be uncomfortable. So not to answer, but look at your feelings, those feelings inside your brain synapses. And we'll breathe. So let your eyes kind of soften or close and breathe. And the question that I asked you about the climate crisis, your initial reaction that came up, those emotions that have been made conscious to you. We'll just kind of check in with our personal temple, our body, and just become aware of your tailbone and how it's holding you up, and your organs, and then going back down, your tailbone is kind of supporting everything, and then your backside touching your chair, and then going down, and then we can all wiggle our toes. Everybody on the Zoom screen, wiggle our toes and breathe. And now look at our faces on the screen, and our toes are now all wiggling, and we're all in community. We all experience gravity, and we are all seeking signs of love, even the people that are not on the Zoom screen. And breathing out again, come back in. So I'm going to show you the climate wheel. And these circles that I hold are, the purpose is really for participants to understand that although they may experience many of these emotions here at different times, different news events, how they do or do not acknowledge them, and any self-judgment about those instinctive emotions is going to be based on the factors that they have experienced and that you as the listener could or could not possibly know about. So the window of tolerance is really based upon the degrees on how one has perceived or worked through different personal traumas. We all have some kind of trauma. So in the circles, we strive to understand that although we may feel all these emotions on the climate circle wheel, how we judge those emotions is going to be based on the factors of the window of tolerance and trauma. And so next, I want to show you part of an email response that I received from one of our circle participants. And I want you to read this to yourself. So now we're going to role play. And I need 2 people to come off mute. And one person will be the listener and try not to read along and then just hear the speaker. So 2 people coming off mute. Okay, 1. Second one, looking on the screen. Do we have 2 now? I'm not. So go ahead and one of you be the reader and the other one listen and be ready to respond in some way.
I don't know that we had a second person. We've got Julie. Was someone else interested in role playing?
I can.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Do you want to read?
Listener?
Okay. All right. Am I reading this? What's on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, surreal indeed. And with all other shit hitting the fan, it's just such a wild time to be alive. I'm dealing with some deep personal struggles regarding my closest loved ones too. So the big picture issues slip into the background at times, though I know they are always there. What a trip it's been.
I'm hearing that the global or world issues are slipping into the background because of personal family challenges. And I'm definitely feeling and hearing that it's a wild time to be alive with everything that's going on in the world.
Okay, thank you both. Thank you. So you kind of nailed it. When we hear from one another and really listen and not attach our own emotions and reactions nor responses to the speaker, we kind of like in a marathon, we stand to the side and we watch as they experience their personal narrative. And we're watching this marathon and we just offering them a Dixie cup of water, and those runners just keep running by, but we're ready to help if asked. And until they do ask, we don't interrupt in the circle, and we do not ad lib at all or comment, try to fix them or convince them or give any advice until they do ask, and we don't interrupt. So we just kind of look for the emotions of empathy within ourselves and then send that reaction of that empathy that we're feeling just out into the circle, into the universe. And we're just trying to connect with the vibration of that kinship. And so this is what we do at these belonging circles. So we circleists, we guide them to say, what I heard was that you feel da da da. So any chatter that you have in your head, try to set that aside. And we just want to validate what they said and then just kind of pause and resist the temptation to give your perspective. Instead, just ask them maybe if it's feeling appropriate, how they might be coping or processing that. So belonging circles include readings for circle volunteers to read as a ritual of the circles that I facilitate, and it feels comforting to those that come often. And so the quote is a little heavy for some audiences, but I feel that it applies to regenerative work. The challenge is to cultivate our inherent capacity for gift economies without the catalyst of catastrophe. We have to believe in our neighbors, that our shared interests supersede the impulses of selfishness. So the actions of understanding, acknowledging, and including while living in the reality of climate and the polycrisis gives people a foundation to stack upon. And that fosters the balanced living that we're looking for. And the research shows that when people address their emotions, when they meet within their affinity groups like you all provide on a regular basis to let those emotions come out, they can then embody those virtues, and as they experience the climate crisis, environmental degradation, bird loss, whatever it may be. And so I'm going to go on to some closing thoughts and open it up for questions. Would someone like to come off mute and read this? This is what we do in ritual after every circle that I facilitate. Go ahead and start reading. Anybody who wants to start.
Closing the circle thoughts. Our work together today is a practice. You do not need to do everything. Do what calls your heart. Effective action comes from love. It is unstoppable, and it is enough. Grief is not a problem to be solved. It has no resolution. Grief is an invitation to spaciousness and creativity. We live in the process by developing strong communities, and we explore our pain for the world without shutting down to it. The only way out is through. When we face that reality head on, we can let go of our illusions of control. We focus our attention on the present moment.
Nice. So I'm going to open it up for questions. So there's a lot of benefits to this, and people may or may not realize it. People that are really having empathetic responses and looking for an outlet. So, and just so you know, there's that crisis lifeline if you do come across any folks, and there's a lot of folks that are climate informed and have gone through some training. You all know about some personal resilience skills. You can always, if folks come to a gathering and decide it's not for them, then perhaps suggest some other sort of hobby, you know, cross stitching or model train building. But something so that people can get out of their heads and have a place where they feel that belonging. That's the one thing. We're just this COVID generation, and we're just so used to isolating. A lot of people are looking for their place in the resilience movement. So it's important for us to find our people. So there's a couple more belonging circles this month. They're both available online this Friday at 7 and next Thursday at 11. And on the Cascadia Stack website, you'll find out about our services and community events we participate in, and you'll also find some digital resources and books to look for. So do we have any questions? Go ahead.
I'm wondering if you can also maybe stop sharing screen. Thanks, Drew. Yeah, I just looking at that and just sort of wanted to add something that really stood out for me that I feel has made a big difference for me is going onto the land, like spending time in nature, like that. Like I know it was people centric, but I really feel like those are skills that are super underdeveloped, and it means that and the other part of that I think is really connected to that is that a sense of this is actually like shared grief, that we are like we can't do this on our own. It has to be something together. And I feel like the land connects us, but actually being in nature. So I just wanted to kind of add that, and that's what I wanted to ask was just, yeah, just your reflections.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Would anyone else like to touch on that before I say something? Ellen?
Well, my hand was raised as a question after Claire's.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. So yeah, it's really about placemaking. So I have volunteer facilitators, and they're able to hold their circles for whatever audience they're carrying towards. But I try to do things in a regenerative, resilience, bioregional introduction, getting people to think smaller, and through work groups, give people awareness of other organizations that might be doing their work, and just kind of hear from folks. I don't know if I totally answered that, Claire.
No, that's great. And actually, I was just thinking, looking at David, that when he was sharing about the circle of 7 elder cedars, and just how beautiful that was symbolically, but it really the sense of like, anyway, I think it was just kind of like, I love what you shared, and I just wanted to add that somewhere there.
Yeah, so I did a circle on the Indigenous Day of Mourning out in nature. We did some, forest bathing, kind of a basic, not that I'm trained, but just, gave people that opportunity, and it was so healing. And we did it hybrid. So there was people on the screen. So I'm just holding up my laptop, touching and breathing and stuff. So, but yeah, going out in nature and including just the whole vibration of things is even more next level. So. Okay, Ellen.
I just wanted to share that I participated in a small circle with you, hybrid. I was online, and the two of you were in a special church, and it was just a real nice trio, speaking authentically and supporting each other. And I just wanted to give kudos to what you're doing out there and recommend it to people. So thank you. I left, feeling really warm-hearted and connected.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's good to hear. Julie.
I was curious to subscribe to Cascadia Stack, and I guess I just need to look around. I clicked register here, and that wasn't it. Is there a way to subscribe?
Yeah, it's on the website, and I will put that in the chat. See if that works. And there'll be a sign up page for the newsletter on there.
Thank you. Beautiful. I'll see if I can take some of that and put it in the Northwest Permaculture newsletter and website. Thank you very much.
Cool. And Pamela?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, and it's wonderful to see that level of interaction being addressed in this space. And I just want to draw attention to the inner space, which this week went through a really quite marvelous way of approaching this. I'm not going to try to summarize it, but I put the link to the recording in the chat. And Anne, whose name I've forgotten, her last name I've forgotten, really structured her way of addressing this overall sort of process of coming to hold the immensity of all the different feelings that come around this with this work at this time. So check it out. It's really worth it. And I love seeing this being approached from all of these different perspectives, and the different scales of interaction, et cetera. And thank you again for presenting your particular entry point into this.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really hoping to partner with more groups that are diverse. I want to get into more language access, ASL language. So that's kind of the long-term goals, to reach people where they are and whatever backgrounds. So yeah. So thank you, Andra, for so much time. And sorry I went over, but I'll let you all continue. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Drew. That was beautiful. And yeah, I will go ahead and bring us into some breakout groups. So really just inviting you to talk about some of the emotions that you're having. I'm going to have these be really small 2 or 3 people groups. So you can practice some of that reflective listening, practice talking about your climate emotions, and just hearing each other, just listening and practicing that sacred listening of tapping into the land, maybe reminding yourself of Davita's grounding exercise about how we were being trees and sourcing energy from the sky and the earth. And yeah, really listening and practicing that listening to with each other and getting to know each other in that way. So I'll go ahead and do the breakout groups, and then yeah, we'll come back and just debrief about that. So I'll send you on your way. All right, welcome back, everyone. Hope that you had good conversations. And if anyone has reflections or thoughts that they want to bring in, please, yeah, raise your hands and just offer how that went for you. Any lingering things you want to talk about? Anything you noticed about the practice? Julie.
I was really lucky. I haven't had a one-on-one with Claire in months. Anyway, did you do that on purpose? Anyway, totally of the universe. So I'm really excited. This is something that Claire says we don't know how to. Oh, is that the link, Claire? We don't know exactly how to articulate, but I'm very excited about the containers that are, it's like between the spaces of like what organizations don't know that they don't know to create safety. And it's like patterns of behavior create structure. So the cultivator, landscape cultivator list later this year, I'm so excited. So anyway, thank you, Claire.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had a good conversation. I just put a link to the article. It's hard to speak about it, but it's essentially we were talking about it in the context of being heard and listening, and that sometimes the structure that actually needs to hold, like that creates some of the safety for that, is missing, and it's pretty rife in a lot of how we function, and like a lot of organizational dysfunction has actually helped to create that. And so part of the hub cultivator is intended as kind of creating those safe spaces, those spaces where we feel that we can hold, the place where we, yeah, I don't want to go into it. So
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for bringing that in, and yeah, creating that new culture is part of this regenerative work, as a lot of us have been speaking to. So yeah, having places for that. And over to you, David.
Yeah, just to follow on, Claire, I'll help finish your sentence that you had a hard time finishing. It's, to me, the climate grief is almost a prerequisite portal that we have to pass through. And that's what gives regenerative bioregionalism its hope. I know when Joe came around and gave his initial conference, and it just, the way in which he articulated that there really wasn't any other alternative. We come to a place where this is the choice. This is what needs to be done. And the grief is something you have to work through. You have to feel it. You've got it. I mean, it's been an old companion of mine, but you must walk through that portal in order to enter our domain. And I think it's almost a prerequisite in that process. So thank you for your work, because I think it's absolutely seminal in terms of setting the base for regenerative work.
Beautiful. Thank you, David. And yeah, saying grief is a portal. I think that's really, really true. Really, really beautiful. Creates that liminal space. And over to you, Ellen.
Yeah, I have a question for Drew. So in our conversation, I ended up making an offering / suggestion because I'm a ecstatic dancer. And the person that I spoke with, we were just talking about where they lived and what was available. And I was like, I know that place. There's good ecstatic dancing there, and so how do you offer a suggestion without like interfering? Or like after I said it, I was like, oh my gosh, I just told this person, something they should do for it. So
Right. So in the belonging circles, I like to say, okay, we're going to go into the circle now. This is a safe space. I read the group agreements or have them do it. And then when the sharing back and forth is done, then I say, okay, we're going to come out of our circle. And then at the end of it, I give those resources and then allow like 5 minutes for people to make announcements about those things. And then that's when you would say the ecstatic dance stuff.
Really, really great question. And I would also offer that something that's been helpful in spaces that I've been facilitating is would you like me to offer reflection, or are you open to hearing about some possible options that might appeal to you? So, and that can kind of open a window for that more personal reflection or that offering of a solution. So yeah, thank you, Ellen and Drew, for that. Any other comments or reflections from that practice, or just any emotions, lingering emotions you still have from this call?
I guess I for some reason I just wanted to add that once you walk through that portal, that it's ongoing, that the grief still comes up, and we get to the other side, and it's like a river, the ebb and flow of life.
Thank you for calling that in, Davida. Appreciate that. Okay, any other last thoughts, comments, questions, emotions? All right. Well, thank you so much for engaging in this practice and really sitting with your emotions. I think that this is really a building block for sitting in difficult conversations, for listening not only to each other as human beings, but also to the land, and for entering into difficult conversations around conflict resolution. These are those building blocks that we need to really start creating that regenerative culture in sum total. So thank you for practicing. Thank you for getting to know each other in this way and for being vulnerable. Thank you, Drew, for the beautiful presentation. Thank you, Davida, for the grounding exercise. And for everyone who brought in a bioregional update. I'm going to close out our session today with a poem. And I want to give a little bit of preface. I wrote this as I was kind of falling in love with this piece of land that I have begun to regenerate near where I live. So yeah, hold it up on the screen for you all. I'll go ahead and read it. Flow. For the first time, see the dazzle of this abandoned place. Archway of glinted leaves, two friends skipping into distance, a photo now holy. Still, no one can ignore the person who says, it smells like sewer. Bitter truth is still true. Breathe in stagnant water, storm runoff, bacterial copulation, mildew, and microplastics. 5 years, this olfactory barrage. But love is determined to find the end of the fence. So step carefully down mud to creekside, climb hills of brittle winter blackberries and 2 ice storms casualties. This creek was never meant to be a pond, but observe before changing anything. There are 2 tires wedged under a rusty pipe, artificial log jam, then trees too heavy for one human to move, mud, moss, mushrooms. Bits of styrofoam wait patiently for a path from creek to river, river to ocean. There are no wading boots or nets, but cross anyway. Pull dead branches out of water, snap rotted protrusions, and use one beaver gnawed stick like a sword to plunge the pond, slicing clean through dozens of stoppering logs. A natural drain emerges like popped ears or realigned vertebrae. No other explanation for why these lungs immediately breathe easier. So with that, I will go ahead and close this call. Let's go ahead and take one last big breath together as a group. The inhale and an exhale. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being wonderful stewards in your landscape, wonderful beings interacting with the living world in every way that you do. Thank you for all your inspiration. Be well and have a good day.
Hi, everybody.